Good morning again. For those of you that are experiencing our technical difficulties, we are the Godzilla Wins Saturday Pick Show. I'm joined by Mitch Rogers, writer for Godzilla Wins, and Jack Fredericks, editor for GodzillaWins.com. Be sure and go over there to check out all of our writing and all of our show. We're going to be giving out some gambling picks. We have a loaded day. We got CFP action coming up. We have NFL action coming up. We are going to be giving you all the picks, but what we need to be talking about first is a little disclaimer. If you have a gambling problem, I want you to go ahead and call 1-800-GAMBLER if you live in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Nebraska, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. Call 1-800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelpline-ma.org if you're in Massachusetts. Call 877-GHOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY if you're in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 if you're in Kansas or New Hampshire, 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org if you're in Connecticut, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or visit opgr.org if you're in Oregon. All right, welcome to the show, guys.
Hello, hello.
Oh, hey, we got video, we got audio. Now everything's working. All right. How are we doing? Are we excited for college bowl games? The Indiana one was a tough one, just professionally and personally, economically. I was pretty high on the Hoosiers last night. I don't think I've won a bowl game since 2023. I don't think that I've picked anything right so far this bowl season. I got some good leans for today, but did you guys enjoy Indiana losing last night? The end of the road for us, Jack.
Hey, it's the start of the college football playoff that everybody's been wanting, right? The expanded playoff. It was the onset of it. It feels crazy because Jack picked it last week, so I've been waiting in anticipation, like we've been building this game up. Yeah, the game was disappointing, but I'm glad college football playoff started, and I'm glad it's leading into maybe the greatest football day in the last 10 years today, because this is fun today with all the playoffs and all the NFL games with implications.
Yeah, that's right. There's two big NFL games today, too.
Yeah.
That, in the run sheet, I forgot that we were taping on Saturday. So it says in the run sheet, it's like Steelers-Ravens reaction. So just a note, guys, that we'll still handicap those games just for the three of us. So yeah, I mean, this was a tough one for me as I guess like the chief sort of Hoosier apologist on this show, and pretty much any other show I could get on to talk about the Hoosiers. I really thought they'd cover. I didn't think they'd win. I actually think Notre Dame has a shot at getting pretty far in this thing, just based on the way that their scheduling is. The bracket is shaped out to be, but the fact that they didn't cover kind of hurt, and I was really high on the over, and that didn't hit either. I should have been more cautious with the over. Indiana has been, cashing overs all season long, 50, 60 points, 40 points on all these games, except for the Ohio State game, which this game, Notre Dame game would have been a good analog for that one. So the fact that I didn't see that maybe Indiana would underperform on offense and maybe the under was actually the better play stings definitely a little bit, but great season for the Hoosiers. I hope Kirk Cignetti sticks with that contract extension that he received this year, and we just see more really good football out of Bloomington. As far as Notre Dame goes, though, I think they do have a real shot to move a little bit further in this playoff.
How quick the hate came out. I mean, the Indiana haters are already just full force. I mean, I did not expect that. I got on Twitter this morning, and it was, they didn't belong, the soft schedule. Cignetti talks too much smack. What he did to JMU, they have the similar reaction in JMU, because I live right around here, that West Virginia fans had with Rich Rod. They are scorned. I mean, they hate Cignetti right now, like all the alumni. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He led you all to almost to the promised land. But what do you all? How do you all feel? Like, do you think Indiana was deserved to be in?
Well, like the schedule thing is like kind of ridiculous. Like, first of all, like Indiana's not going to just like load up a schedule of blue chip programs because it's Indiana football. Like the idea that they're like, oh, you should have played Alabama in your non-conference or something like that is stupid. Like that was never going to be a game that happens.
Yeah.
And like, and as far as like Big Ten scheduling goes, like you just play who you get in front of you. I mean, they were lucky to dodge some of the bigger teams, but I mean, that's not really their fault. Like that they just got kind of a soft Big Ten schedule. I mean, they still played in a Power Five conference, a very good one. So I mean, this idea that like Indiana, was some sort of like fraud, and that Signetti and the AD at Indiana somehow like manipulated the schedule to get into the playoff.
Were you surprised at the end of the game? Did you watch the last minute? Who was the play-by-play announcer? It'll come. Whoever it was, the color guy. He went on a rant, a diatribe about how the Big Ten. You can't just assume the Big Ten is up there with the SEC. Basically, crapping all over him, saying the Big 12 was better, the ACC was better, and doing this Indiana thing, basically a rant that other teams deserve to be in, and the only reason Indiana was in is because we've hyped up the Big Ten. So he was saying that the schedule should be softer, but because we hype up the Big Ten teams too much, the schedules don't get as soft. But I mean, it was on national TV, just went off on why Indiana.
I mean,
that's like a fun
in
rant.
the moment.
That's a little preemptive. I mean,
In
we
the
haven't
moment,
even seen
yeah.
Oregon, Penn State, or Ohio State, which are like the three top Big Ten teams, play yet. I mean, like, sorry they got to fight Indiana in, but I mean, I don't think anybody's saying that those three.
Notre Dame had, a relatively similar schedule, other than, the Army Navy games, which, I mean, take what you will from those two teams. So it's not as though Notre Dame played this like incredible schedule either, and then came in and rolled Indiana. Like, the way I look at this game is, okay, Indiana, first major, thing to happen in football, and who knows how long. They have to travel on the road to South Bend. They lose by 10 points. Like, their offense struggled or stuttered or whatever. But I mean, Notre Dame looked kind of sluggish in the second half too. And, they lost by 10 on the road in the first college football playoff ever. It's not like they got blown out by 30 or 40 points here. And all of a sudden we're talking about, should they be here? I mean, and if it's not Indiana, then who is it? South Carolina, Alabama? Like, I mean, Indiana had a great year. They lost one game. They deserve to be in the college football playoff. You can only play who's in front of you. It's not their fault that they missed Penn State and a couple other Big Ten schools. Now that these conferences are so big, that's going to happen. There's going to be teams like, Kentucky or something that are going to win 10 games every once in a while because their schedule just misses some of the tougher like opponents in the SEC, just as an example. And it's going to be the same sort of situation. And this is what we're going to, like, when we had the BCS, we talked about that it wasn't fair because it was just two teams picked by a computer. And then we had the four teams, and we said, well, that's not enough because we need the fifth or sixth team or whatever is more deserving. And now we're at 12, and we're like, South Carolina should be in. You know what I mean? And this is just never ending until you get to like 64 teams. And when we do this with,
and even when you do 64, people complain in basketball.
Yeah, all the time. So, I mean, I think Indiana deserved to be there. They blew everybody out this year except for one team, and they lost by 10 points to a Notre Dame team that hasn't lost since September and looks really good.
John, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, sorry for you guys. I'm a little bit behind. I tried to sit up today and realized that I had forgotten my laptop at the office. The first time I've done that. And so I had to rejigger my phone here. So I'm sorry for that. I mean, I don't think Indiana was ever going to win this game. I watched it, and if you're a IU fan and you happen to bet them, maybe you had a shot to cover at the end, but they were never going to win that football game. But I don't really understand the bashing of the Big Ten and the bashing of Indiana. This was a great season for them, and I'm with Nate. Like, they're not gonna play. They're not gonna put Alabama and Texas on their non-con schedule. Like nobody would do that. I mean, West Virginia doesn't do that. It's insanity to do that. In fact, when I was at the press conference with the new coach Rodriguez, somebody asked him that question, and Ren Baker the AD just interrupted him and answered it, and says this idea by playing top non-con schools in non-conference that somehow this benefits your program. He said that is about the biggest misnomer in college football. All it does is hurt your program. I mean, you get players beat up, you get injuries, And the games, at the end of the day, the games don't mean anything to a school like ours. We have to win the conference. That's the only way we're going to get in this thing. So it's dumb. You want to pick schools that can make you better, but that you're not going to be in that situation. So I mean, I'm not really sure what the Indiana bashing is here, to Jack's point. And look, he bet the over last week. I bet it immediately. I lost the bet. I never win a over under game stores. Put that bet in. I
Your
knew it was
first
going to be a
one. That was your
loser.
first
You're the
one.
cooler.
I mean, it's just I bet it in hot, and I've had like a 5 game losing streak now between hockey and this debacle last night. But but hey, Jack, I thought your analysis was spot on. That's why I made the bet. But these things are going to happen. But I don't know, if you're an Indiana fan, you got to be proud of your team, proud of what they've done. They got what did they say, Mitch? 30 players in the portal that the new coach brought over.
Yeah,
13 from
13
his
from
former
JMU.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah, 13 from JMU, 30 people in the portal. I mean, this is not easy in college football. And it's not like they're going to play for Michigan or something. I mean, they're going to play for Indiana University football, like whatever. So I think they deserve the credit of doing a really fine job, having a really good season, but they were never going to win that game. Ever.
And this should be the beginning for them. Hopefully they can keep the momentum, and everything that the play-by-play announcer and all these Twitter idiots won't thwart any of that, and the recruits will still come there because it seems like a great destination, and one that their facilities will just get better. And with Signetti, he's going to be there for a while, so it's only looking further up for
Well,
the.
I mean, why
Hoosiers.
not? Why not? If you're, look, everybody knows the super blue chips go to the big SEC schools, right? We all know that they're going to go to Texas and Georgia, and trying to get drafted, and we get that. But you got a lot of mid-level players that, hey, they'd love to have a shot playing competitive Big Ten football, and so why not go to a storied program like Indiana, get a great education, get great basketball, get great there's a lot of great things in that college. So why not? I think the guys look. They gave him this massive contract extension. It's massive, like 8 years or something, bajillions of dollars. So good for him. He's earned it, and I wish them well. Those of you that said Notre Dame could go all the way, no. They beat an inferior opponent. That was an inferior opponent. Now, they did what they had to do. They beat him at home. They played him 10 times. They beat him 10. But that was an inferior opponent. And you start dialing up, some of these SEC schools. No, not going to happen. They're out next
I
week.
never said they could win the championship, but I believe they play Georgia next week. I think that's where they are in the bracket. I don't have it up. I'm almost positive they play UGA. UGA is going to be without Carson Beck. UGA won that Texas game with Gunnar Stockton. I don't think that's going to happen again. I mean, we can talk later about UGA, but being without your quarterback in a big moment like this, I think Notre Dame has a real shot to advance past UGA. Then they have maybe Boise State. So it's a relatively easy path. Although I think Boise State's actually pretty good. But so there's a lot that could happen, and I think they could beat Georgia. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, yeah, and we'll talk more about Gunnar Stockton. Before we get too far into this, I want to remind everyone that Godzilla Wins is brought to you by Native Path. Just go to getnativepath.com/Godzilla and feel better and live better. We are a collagen family here. John's taking the collagen. Jay's taking the collagen. Jack's taking the collagen. Mitch, myself. That's why we got this youthful glow. It's helping our bones, helping our aches and pains, helping our skin, helping our hair. Fingernails are so long that I have to trim them every other day. We are doing great around here.
That's true.
That is true.
Your fingernails grow. I mean, I noticed that. But you take a look at Jack. Jack looks fabulous since he's been on this thing. I mean, I've lost 40 pounds. It's almost unbelievable. And I don't do any of those drugs. And it's not because this collagen is a weight loss thing, Mitch. It is not a weight loss supplement. But here's what happens: you feel better, so you move around more. That's what, like, I was trying to figure it out. Like, how did I lose all this weight? Yeah, I stopped eating bad stuff, but I move around more. And I'll give you a perfect example because my joints feel better. If it's 2 or 3 flights, I'll take the stairs where I always took the elevator. Here's another thing, Mitch. You'll get this, right? Pittsburgh Airport had they had those long, rolling walkway things.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, as soon as I saw them, I'm like, bingo, just stand there. And now I bypass them and walk because my back feels better and I'm able to do it, carrying a backpack in a bag or whatever I have. I don't really have a backpack. I just have a bag of wheels. So I haven't had a backpack my whole life, but, something I'm carrying with my suit bag or something. And now I'm walking. And I didn't do that like, oh, I'm going to walk to lose weight. It's just like, I'll just walk. It's faster because I can. That's one of the big differences here. That's why you want to go to getnativepath.com/Godzilla, getnativepath.com/Godzilla. And you take this thing for about 2-3 weeks. It's really going to have an impact on your life.
All right. Before we get into, we have a little Astros news to talk about that I want to get to in a second. But me and Jack were talking about this off the air yesterday, and we were talking about how, as we've been embarking on this sports betting journey for the last few years, doing the show, doing the website, all of that, what we've really got an appreciation for is by being a part of this show and being a part of this community, we've gotten access to some really awesome pools. NFL survivor pools, college football playoff pools. We get all this stuff and it's rake free. All the money that goes in gets paid out. There's no more paying the VIG, the -110 on DraftKings. You're not like, betting futures and having them skim off a percentage off the top. It's just pure gambling against people that non-experts. And it's like the purest form of gambling. We've just been talking about how much we love that versus the sort of brick and mortar sort of aspects of casino stuff. Jack?
Yeah, I'm tired of the highly corporatized gambling industry.
Trying to go grassroots in our gambling movement.
That's right. Yeah, we got our populist pools. These are democratic. This is, I'm pro democracy most of the time, and this is pro democracy. These pools here, there's no bells and whistles. I don't have to log into anything. Like, I don't have to pay the VIG. I don't have to all that stuff. Even those pools on DraftKings, that's how DraftKings started out with before there was legal gaming. No, it's not the same. You need to be if you love the show and you love doing what we do throughout the week when it comes to sports, you need to be in a couple just email based pools, just where you got a Google form and you fire off a couple selections every week, and you get that email on Tuesday. You see if you're still in the pool. Like, you need a couple of those things. Fantasy can be the same way. There's not always a rake in fantasy, but yeah, we're huge email chain pool guys right now. This is the populist way to.
I love that. I love that analysis. The populist pools, because you're right. Everything you're saying, like, I'm a DraftKings guy, and I go to the casino, and it is all corporatized, all VIGs and all this. And they're going to figure out how to take your money. But in saying that, Jack and I and Ann were in 2 pools.
Me and Ann are still in that pool.
I was eliminated immediately. I can't do football. I think the first week that there was a elimination, I was like out. I was out. So, but there's one pool. Ann is like number 3 in the pool. She's going to win the pool, and she saved all her best teams to the end. So she survived that, and her surname on the thing is Mrs. Godzilla, which is hilarious. So she ought to be on the show. She's picking nothing but winners. Jack's still in one, aren't you, Jack?
Yeah, I'm in that one too. Every week, I can't win it because there's only a couple weeks left, and I'm last place of the people who are still there. And in the last 3 weeks, the people who are still alive have picked with a 97% accuracy. So kind of been a weird statistical anomaly. You don't really see that it's been like 40 games. You don't see that very often, like 38-2 or something. But yeah, man, I'm all about these pools. I mean, look, go do your DraftKings thing. We got you can go to the brick and mortar FanDuel stuff and DraftKings here in Arizona. Go do your thing, but just make sure you're in 1 or 2. Is
this a build up? Is this like a tease? Are you starting a playoff pool or something? What's going on here? There's a build up for something.
Godzilla has got to have a pool.
We're just passionate. We're just
telling
about
us,
the
just
pools.
email us all your pools. And
I just picture like a bunch of hippies in a commune. Everyone throws the money in. Peace and
Yeah.
love pool. No vigs.
Yeah,
No
it's
one's making any rakes. No
when the rule
money.
sheet is about 2.5 pages long, and it's just some
Yeah.
guy working a spreadsheet on Monday morning trying to figure out what the hell happened.
When you
Yeah,
win,
I think-
when you win money, you have to just give it back. It's peace
Mhm.
and love, baby.
No, it's pretty,
Yeah,
it's
no.
pretty cool. I think we should start with nature, run it. And I love the word you used. There's no rake. You know what? I've not heard of that word used in this context.
Yeah,
Very,
yeah.
very good. There's no rake. In
That's
fact,
the
that should
poker
be
in
the
me.
that
Yeah.
should be the Godzilla wins poll. Whoever said that, this should be the Godzilla wins poll. No rake. I love it. We should start when Nate can manage it. He does spreadsheets.
Probably
You
not
do
as well
spreadsheets,
as
Nate?
some other folks on this program. But okay, so now that we've had our little discussion of pools, I don't want to give short shrift to John's pet topic, which is the Houston Astros. They've been making some moves. I'm just going to let you just talk about the Tucker and what looks like Bregman is maybe they're positioning themselves to live their life without Bregman moving forward. What are you thinking, John?
And they
How are you
just
feeling?
signed a first baseman, I think.
Yeah.
So they're making moves.
Christian Walker.
Yeah.
32 years old, 3-year contract, 60 mil. Okay, so 10 days ago when they traded Tucker, like I was totally depressed. And once again, my older son had to call me up and walk me off the ledge and tell me like life would go on and I was going to be fine. And, nobody was sick. And it was actually a good trade. And I'm like, how can it be a good trade when you're trading away one of the top 5 best players in baseball? Like, how can that be a good trade? And Jack nailed it. He said, once they sign Soto for $1 billion, this guy's free agency comes up next season. He's going to demand $400 or $500 million. Houston's not going to pay that, so he's going to walk. Like get Garrett Cole did and everybody else. Correa, we got nothing. At least here we get a really good third baseman in Paredes, very very young, all-star from the Cubs. We get a very legitimate bullpen piece. Guy had 67 appearances. I cannot pronounce his last name. Starts with a W. The guy's 28. He had 67 appearances, 3.84 ERA. I had Joe look him up for me. He says he's solid. And we got their top prospect. So you know what? Tucker was not going to stay with us beyond one season. So that was a good trade. The whole Bregman thing, as an Astro fan, and if you're not an Astro fan, you're not going to ID with this. But if you are, I'm sick of it. Like just sign and go. Just get out of my life. Just stop. I don't want to see any more emails. I don't want to see more teasers, clickbait. Just you're gonna sign. We offered you 6 years, $156. You're in a no income tax state. You're looking at 200 million in Detroit for 7, where you're gonna pay 8% income tax on half your games. The money's gone in income tax. It's stupid. Go. You want to go? You know what? Walk. We're done with you. I'm so sick of it. I hope they sign him. Not going to happen. Then they turn around in a great move and sign first baseman from the Diamondbacks, Christian Walker. Guy hit a bunch of home runs last season. Gold Glove at first base. First base was our biggest hole. We've solved that. So and we're not going to trade Framber. We still have the best pitching staff, A to Z, in the major leagues if these guys come back. Garcia, Javier, Framber, Hunter Brown, etc. We still got Hader. They said they're not trading Presley. We got the best bullpen. So you know what? It's going to be a competitive team, and it is what it is. I mean, this is the way baseball is now. At least the Astros have made moves that are going to make it a fun season, and I think I'm really happy with it. As far as Bregman is concerned, pack your bags and get out of town. I'm sick of you. Goodbye and good riddance.
Aren't they going after Nolan Arenado?
No, he wouldn't go.
No,
there.
he
and that was
blocked.
a
He
horrible
blocked the trade with a no trade clause. He didn't want to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
That's all I got.
it's just like it's sort of the frustrating thing about being an Astros fan. It's what makes it sort of fulfilling at times, but it also is frustrating because they just don't have like unlimited bankrolls like the Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers, right? So they really do have to be sort of crafty about how they construct a roster, and that's just
Because their owner actually like produced something in America. Like he started a publication and paid people and made money and employed thousands of new journalists. And he actually built the company rather than Steve Cohen, who's a hedge fund gangster bankster that pushed paper around screwing working people. That's the difference.
Well, I don't know if that's. I mean, he could probably afford to. I don't think Crane having built something means that I mean, they have money to spend. They just don't want to. That's a huge market, and they've been successful for a very long time. They're just arrogant about the ways in which they do things. They don't think that they have to spend money to be good.
Good point.
They've produced over and over again without having to spend money, and so they don't do it because they really. I mean, as an organization, everybody has been saying for years that the Astros are relatively arrogant as far as what they think they can do. I think that there's some of that arrogance is playing into some of this. I think there was no reason to trade Tucker now. You could have traded him at the trade deadline if your team wasn't in the running. You probably would have gotten more for him. I mean, oh my God, Kyle Tucker on the trade, like on the chopping block, like at the trade deadline. I mean, people would, teams would give an arm and a leg. Just think about what the Mets would have given for something like that, for a piece when you're in, if you're not in the hunt. Maybe the Astros would have been. The trade in and of itself, I think, is fine. The Astros have no farm system. They need to build a little bit of a farm system. They need to get a little younger. And they'll continue to do that with some of this other stuff. As far as letting Bregman walk, I mean, Bregman has been a really good piece for the Astros for a long time. He helped us win 2 World Series. He was a first-round pick. He's from the area. He doesn't want to sign for $156 million. These guys don't pay 8% income tax. Like, multimillionaires don't pay income tax. That's like a ridiculous argument, Dad. We talk about this all the time. Like, these people are like us. Like their $80,000 a year salary is getting taxed. They find ways to invest their money so they can pay as little as possible. They're not worried about income tax. They want the bottom line. They want to be paid as much as possible. That's part of their value. And if he goes to Detroit, then fine. But I don't know. I don't think this is like a huge deal. I just would have waited on Tucker until the trade deadline. I don't understand that.
I like the move for Christian Walker, and a lot of the small market and mid market teams were really eyeing him as a piece. Specifically, the Pirates were as well. So there was kind of a dagger that, another blue chip team kind of goes out and gets him. I think that. So I guess what is it now? They just build around Jose Altuve, who's probably pissed
and
off
Jordan.
at a lot of these moves, right? So
and you're done. I mean,
they have Jordan until 2029,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
So look, and my your little brother made a point yesterday. He said, as long as you got Altuve leading off, hitting like 310, you're probably going to be in the hunt to win the division. He's one of the best players in the major leagues, and like Joe said, you got Jordan, you got Walker now, and don't discount this guy, Isaac. How do I say his name? Paredes, right?
Yeah.
Paredes. I think there's the long E there, Paredes. But this guy's an all-star. He's very young. He's a good third baseman. He hits with guys on base. So, we're kind of excited about him. But I think the Christian Walker piece, at least going in the season, you got an infield, right? You got Paredes at third. You got Pena, who's only going to get better at short. And you got a Toby at second, and now Walker at first. You got a catcher that's going to be an all-star catcher. So you're good up the middle. And now your weakness is 3 outfielders that none of them are proven. So that's good. That's a problem. So hopefully they'll fix that. But the infield catcher looks really, really solid now.
All right, we're gonna pivot here, and we're gonna start kind of working through some of these college football games and topics. I guess the big sort of college football news, it's not a game that's happening this week, but the biggest sort of storyline in terms of teams and how we evaluate them has to be Georgia. Carson Beck is injured. It looks like he's exploring surgery to repair an injury to his throwing elbow. That's a big deal. It's a big deal for his draft stock. It's a big deal for the Georgia Bulldogs and their national title aspirations. And we just really don't know. I mean, Gunnar Stockton is a totally different type of quarterback than Carson Beck is. That's just the bottom line. So not only are they sort of replacing an elite college quarterback, they're also having to tweak a game plan in the highest stakes moments. It's not something that I think is outside the realm of possibility that Kirby Smart can get his team ready and get them sort of focused on this. But it is, a pretty abrupt change. And this is what the second or third year in a row where we've had something like this happen, when Florida State had their quarterback go down, and then everyone, the season basically fell apart for them, and their sort of postseason aspirations fell apart. So this, happens. But I mean, what are realistic expectations? They're going to face Notre Dame in the quarterfinal in about a week and a half. What are realistic expectations for Georgia fans now that they're down a starting quarterback?
I think expectation wise, you can still expect as a Georgia fan to be competitive in the college football playoff, just because you have Kirby Smart, and he's going to have 2-ish weeks, right, to prepare his team for a different offensive look, different schematics. They still have they still have a line of scrimmage. They still have a line that is good. They can run the ball. They have a good defense. They've looked, up and down this year with Carson Beck. So it's not as though playing with Carson Beck is like a guarantee that you're going to get a W as well. This year's been pretty up and down for him. So I think if you're UGA, you have to be cautiously optimistic just because you have Kirby Smart. You've been in this position before. These quarterbacks that Georgia has waiting in the wings are good. That's why they are backup quarterbacks at Georgia. So it's not as though Gunnar Stockton can't play. It's just they play a different offense with him. And so we'll see if Notre Dame is ready for that. I do think Notre Dame is tough, man. I mean, they haven't lost since September when they lost to Northern Illinois. I mean, they beat everybody, and they beat everybody handily. So I think that's going to be a pretty tough game for Georgia to win. I wouldn't be surprised if Notre Dame, ends up playing, Boise State or Penn State or SMU or something in that kind of what it would be the quarterfinal, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. If it's me, I'm optimistic only because I have Kirby Smart, but I'm definitely nervous at the idea that we got this new quarterback who's supposed to now win 3 high pressure games.
I think you can be optimistic because the quarterback position or the passing game in general and all the big games came up short, either with drop passes against, Alabama, Texas, and Florida. Beck threw 3 picks in each of those games. They still won those games. So they are able to win games when their quarterback isn't playing well. So I think you're right. Kirby Smart will have a game plan. And the Georgia sophomore Gunner, he can play some ball, and they'll be able to figure this out and be competitive. If it's like a wins above replacement, I don't know how much. I don't think it's a terrible drop off. I think he might be less talented than Beck. Beck's better, but because of the drops and the inconsistency, I think they can still get it done and maybe even be more efficient in a big game because they've been so poor recently in big games in the passing game.
I'll say this about college football too, that's different than the NFL. Like in the NFL, if a starting quarterback goes down, there's a very steep drop off in quality behind them, typically, almost always. And the more elite the quarterback, the bigger the chasm is because they can't afford to pay a good backup, right? But in college, the margins are a lot thinner between who's starting and who's a backup and who can succeed and who can't. I mean, we saw UNLV almost sneak their way into the postseason, into the playoff. They did get a bowl game with Haj Malik Williams, and he was a backup to start the season, and he had an incredible year. So, we do see guys that are backups in college that just sort of can emerge in ways that we don't always see in the NFL. And I think that the one advantage Georgia may have, this is highly theoretical, is that teams just don't really have that much film of Gunnar Stockton. Like they just don't know what he's going to do. He threw, 16 passes when he came into the SEC title game, 71 yards. Basically half of his passes were screens, that were mostly just behind the line of scrimmage completions. So we really don't know what Gunnar Stockton is capable of. Obviously, they didn't have they weren't schemed out for him. So they were just trying to sort of do stuff easy to kind of get him comfortable. But with, a couple weeks of preparation, I don't think that it's crazy to think that he could be like a normal level starting quarterback. And we don't just, it's not like in the NFL where if Mahomes is out, it's just okay, they're not the same.
And maybe Kirby turns that game into a mud fight, where it's like old school SEC, like 12-9 type of game where he just slows down the tempo, runs the ball as much as he can, and leans on his defense to frustrate Notre Dame, and they just kind of end up going back to old school SEC football from 10 years ago. I mean, that's the thing with Kirby, is you just never know what he's going to do, but he's going to have his team prepared. I mean, the fact that they went in there in the SEC championship, lost Beck, and still beat Texas is just a testament to how good he is. You can never count him out as a coach. And this Georgia team has been here probably more than any other team in this college football playoff. Maybe Ohio State is the only other team that I can think
Clemson,
of. But yeah, Clemson, but it's been a while, just these guys, playing right now. Probably Georgia has the most. So also they're not going to feel as much pressure, and they get a bye. I mean, I still think Notre Dame has a shot, and I'm hoping for, my bracket is all upsets. I'm just like, I just want all the upsets. You know what I mean?
Chaos in here. Yeah.
Yeah. But
are they playing the Sugar Bowl, or is it the Sugar Bowl they're in?
I can't remember.
Right? Which would be electric.
It is the Sugar Bowl.
Nice.
So then
Notre Dame, Georgia, Sugar Bowl playoff. That's going to be fun. That's
awesome.
Blue Bloods. That's fun.
Yeah.
I got a couple comments. Number one, I love the football playoff scenario that we're doing right now. I know we waited for it a long time, and first we had it was 4, now it's 12. I think it should be 16. This is so much fun. If you're anywhere of a college football fan, you just got to love these games. I love starting on Friday night, getting home from work and being able to pop that game on, although it was a loser for me. The other comment I want to make is I like Georgia, so I'm with you guys, and I agree with your analysis. But let me just say this: I listen to a lot of athletic shows, a lot of them. Obviously, I'm a fan. I'm on Godzilla Wins. I consume a tremendous amount of hockey stuff now and baseball stuff. But this is really a great show, and you guys are doing a super job. That analysis you all three just gave on the Georgia situation and the quarterback, and how it's not really what's driving these winning teams in college football, probably the best analysis that I've heard this week on any show. So I just want to compliment you guys on really. I think we got the top analysis here in the business, and the show continues to grow, and you guys are the reason. And Nate, you're doing a super job. I have more fun on this show listening to you guys than I do anything I do the entire week. So keep up the good work.
All right, let's break down some games. Before we break down some games, Jack was talking about old school SEC football, and all I kept thinking about was the only time I want to watch an old school 10-7 SEC game is if I run out of healthy cell REM sleep and I need something to put me down. In an afternoon, healthy cell REM sleep, big believers. We all need our beauty sleep. Rest is restorative, and you can do a lot worse and put a lot worse things into your body than healthy cell REM sleep. All natural, non-habit forming, not addictive. Healthycell.com. Use promo code Godzilla or /Godzilla. Get 20% off. Supports all 4 phases of healthy sleep. John's a big believer in it. All natural product. Been using it for years. That's how he has no bags under his eyes, smiling on a Saturday morning. Look at that. Beautiful. All right, let's break down some games. First up, SMU. They are, they're sort of, they were, right on the cusp of being able to get in after losing the ACC title game against Clemson. They made a hell of a comeback to really make that a game after Clemson sort of got ahead of them. The spread is sort of moving around. All of these spreads have been kind of varying wildly depending on where you're betting sports. It's anywhere from Penn State -7.5 to Penn State -9. It seems like everywhere is taking a bunch of action that has these lines sort of choppy. I'll just go ahead and say it. I kind of like SMU here. I kind of like the team that just barely gets in. They looked a little tight to start the ACC title game. They did not play well. Clemson looked like the looser team. They looked like they knew that, they were just sort of happy to be there. SMU finally looked tight, but then they got more comfortable. They got more comfortable in that game. And then now I'm thinking SMU, the pressure's off. You're in the playoff now. They were playing that ACC title game thinking that this was we need to win to get in and sort of legitimize ourselves. Now they're in. So now they can just play loose and free. And I feel like they're the team with significantly less pressure on them than Penn State. I mean, Penn State has just the weight of the world on their shoulders in this game. And it feels like SMU can just go out there, toss the rock around, play good defense, and they can hang in this game. I like them plus the 9.
Of course they can. James Franklin is the worst coach in big games in Power 4 schools. I mean, and it's not even close. And this is huge for Penn State. They must win this game just to be able to take the pressure off the next time they're in another big game, whether it's next year, next week, or, the next bowl game, because yeah, it's unwarranted pressure. I mean, they shouldn't. This is a This is a classic Penn State team. 2 great running backs, a tight end that's the best in the world, linebackers everywhere, a great quarterback. I mean, this is the Penn State team, if you're a Penn State fan, that you've been waiting for. And you're 7.5-point favorites, even though they have the worst coach in big games. So this is a game where you should win. But man, SMU's won 10 straight on the road. SMU has the best kicker in the world in college. 7 kicks over 50 yards. He almost broke the NCAA record if he would have tied it with 1 more. They can muddle a game up. And their running back was the former wide receiver. He just mixes. I mean, he is so electric. They can get this thing, and especially, and your point is perfect, Nate, they're going to be tight, and SMU's going to be loose. So I don't know. This is one where I'm going to take SMU just with those points because I think it's just going to be a close game no matter what, because Penn State is always gagging and choking, even in wins in big games. So I don't think James Franklin can figure it out.
I'm going to go opposite of you here.
Okay.
I've already laid the 9 on Penn State. They're just a better football team. They're bigger. They're stronger. They're faster. And when they play inferior teams, they roll up the score. I mean, the guy. I don't like James Franklin as a coach. He doesn't win big games, and he beats up on the little sisters of the poor, whatever the hell he does, in order to juice his rankings. But this is a very good football team. The SMU's got the best kicker in football. Okay, so I'll give them 3 field goals. They got 9. I mean, so they got.
I'm just grabbing things.
I mean, look, they're not at the same level as this Penn State football team that really should be competing for a national championship, as far as I'm concerned, because they got the whole package. And yes, the guy's never won a big game, but he's never had this good of a team. He's got quarterback. They score. They have a great defense. They're fast. They're big up front. I mean, he's got a package here, and I just don't see Southern Methodist coming in this game and even being able to compete. I kind of see what we saw yesterday or last night, where Indiana was never going to win that football game, and this is one of those games. I'm telling you, I think the spread was 7 or 8. Indiana was never going to win that game. SMU is not going to win this game. So then it comes down to, am I going to catch a cover with a garbage touchdown? I never make those bets. I don't like them. Penn State -9. I think one of the best bets this weekend.
How big of a deal do you think this is, though? With Indiana, even though they're in the Big Ten, they're considered, kind of a wild card or a Cinderella story. If SMU gets blown out, then every Alabama hater, everybody's going to be, everybody that's for Alabama getting in is going to be back and have that feeling again that Alabama got.
Ole Miss got screwed.
Great. If we want the little guys in. If we want the little guys to remain in, I think we need SMU to win today or play well. If they cannot get blown out.
Yeah. And Ole Miss didn't get screwed. Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. They have like 2 wins. They lost to Florida after beating Georgia. They did this to themselves. Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. Miami lost to Syracuse. I mean, like that's why these teams aren't in here. SMU played a really tough ACC championship game against Clemson, and people are sleeping on Clemson because Clemson is good. Mm-hmm. I know we're going to talk about them in a minute. They have been peaking, and they are going to be a tough out. And I think the ACC is a pretty tough conference this year. I really like SMU here. And I like it for the reason that I didn't I'm not letting James Franklin control my future by laying 9 points on his team. Like, no way. I mean, he doesn't win these types of games, and there's no way he's going to cover it. So, 8-9 points, it's way too much. This game's going to be close. SMU is a tough team. That's like a prideful program, and they've been good the last couple of years. It's not like they just stumbled into success. They've been tough now for a number of years. This is a game where, like, Penn State's going to struggle, and they do have the weight of the world on them. It is in Happy Valley. I mean, that has to count for something. But to me, 9 points is too many. Like, just give me the 9.
I mean, it's worth noting that Penn State this season has struggled against some teams. I mean, they played a close game with Bowling Green. They win by 7 against Bowling Green at home. They beat USC on the road by 3 in overtime. Both of those teams run pretty funky spread offenses that aren't that dissimilar to what SMU runs. So, in terms of like, if Penn State struggles with a certain scheme and they struggled with a certain scheme in those games, it stands to reason that they could struggle again, especially on this big stage.
I think John's right, though. With talent-wise, I mean, Penn State should roll, but they just don't in big games, so that's why you can't, like with Jack.
Yeah, I mean, that's James Franklin,
Yeah. All right.
I'm a James Franklin hater. You guys are always like busting on me. Oh, you should meet James Franklin. And now all three are on my James Franklin.
I was born and bred to hate Penn State.
We don't.
My grandfather.
Yeah.
We hate Penn State in our family, so I'm biased with anything I say.
We don't like you bringing up the same point for a year and a half because he ran up the score against West Virginia like 2 years ago.
Dude,
if you want to hate James Franklin, just be a little bit more creative in your hate. We're on the radio. You know what I mean? Like,
fourth-string quarterback in. He should not have done that. He should not have done that.
We got another game.
Here's my response to that. Trump won in a landslide. That's my response. Go ahead.
Yeah, true. Go Astros.
So you're saying that the threshold for stale talking points is pretty high in America?
Trump won in a landslide.
Yeah.
We win, you lose.
Okay. Let's just go ahead and talk about some more college football games. Tennessee, Ohio State. This is, I mean, I don't know. This one's like the weirdest just looking on paper to me. Like, it feels weird to have Tennessee in the playoff. It feels, Ohio State, they're going to be there. But Tennessee's traveling to Columbus. Tennessee has not played a ton of road games this year. They only played 4 road games. They went 2-2 on the road. They lost to Arkansas on the road, and they lost to Georgia on the road. Arkansas is not a good team. Georgia is a good team. They're a playoff team, obviously. And now they're a 7-point underdog to Ohio State, which has to be feeling like a little bit of something, considering that their last game was, not like the greatest football that they could put on the field. The flag planting incident, the fighting, the, embarrassing loss to a bad Michigan team. Ohio State has to come out and just want to just dismantle Tennessee. Whether that happens, I don't know. I kind of, if I was just laying money on it, I probably wouldn't bet it. On the radio, I think probably Ohio State just tears apart Tennessee. That just doesn't look like that good of a team to me. What do you guys think?
I'm with Nate here 100%.
So if you real quick, if you like this conversation, if you're interested in either the Tennessee Volunteers or the Tennessee Titans, right after this show, which will be 11 p.m. Eastern time on the John Fredericks Radio Network, we're going to air a AM. What I say, PM? 11 a.m. Obviously, we don't do the show for 13 hours. That would be that'd be quite the feat. We could, I'm sure the 4 of us could think of something to say. But if you like what you hear, Nate, John, and I interviewed Gentry Estes, who's a columnist for the Tennessean, about the Volunteers' chances, some Tennessee Titans stuff, and also some Predator stuff. So for our folks listening in Nashville, you may want to just stick around on the John Fredericks Radio Network for that analysis. He did a great, job. He was a lot of fun to talk to. As far as this game goes, I'm with Nate. I mean, Ohio State, right? Like, it's, first of all, Ryan Day's playing like for his job, like,
which is insane.
And I think Ryan Day is probably gone if he loses this game. So there's one motivating factor. Tennessee stinks on the road. Columbus is a difficult place to play. It's going to be cold. This is probably should be the 3rd seed. You can only get a bye if you win the your championship. But if they had been in the championship, they may have beaten Oregon. Who knows? I mean, they almost beat Oregon during the regular season in that really exciting game. So this is like a really tough team that didn't get a bye, and they get to play at home. And I think Tennessee is probably toast here.
I'm very interested to see what happens if they come out and they play poorly, and all of a sudden this home field advantage turns into a disadvantage because they are ready to get him out of here. Tennessee's great in the red zone on defense. They're one of the best defensive teams in the country playing in the SEC. So and I'm sure they talked. You had to talk about their defensive line that has like 300 pounders. James Pierce Jr. will be in the first 10 picks of the draft. I mean, they have some talent there. Ohio State must score in the red zone. They're going to get down to the red zone. It's what they did against Michigan. They get down there. They have to capitalize and turn touchdowns, not field goals, because Tennessee has bend but don't break, and that's why that spread is 7. So it's a tough one. I'm going to take Ohio State. I think at home, as long as you don't get your home crowd against you, you should be able to roll here. But they have to take advantage in the red zone because that's where Tennessee really comes on strong.
Yeah, I mean, I just keep thinking like Ohio State has to feel bad about that Michigan game. I mean, just to come out so flat there, I mean, it just has to hurt. They still have to be thinking about that, and then I mean,
Hey, you win this game today. You
everything's
win this
forgotten.
game, Nate. That's it. I mean, you took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Everything's forgotten. Like, who cares, right? The Michigan thing's in the rear view mirror. You win this game, you go on, you got a chance to be a national championship. You got beat by Michigan. Who cares? Ryan Day needs to win this game. And again, this is just a better football team. And what you really got to be concerned about in these playoffs here is, who's the better team? And like you saw last night, that I think that's going to play out. So I love Ohio State here -7. I'm trying to find an underdog. I don't want to be on the faves. I know I do that a lot, but I just don't see Tennessee in this game. I just don't think they're that good. In fact, other than Indiana, they might be one of the weakest entrants here.
You know what? Like, as a football enthusiast, just think about it. You're getting Tennessee, Ohio State.
I know, right?
In a playoff game that didn't even exist. 2 blue bloods. Tennessee,
so
just being a little bit older, Tennessee was so dominant in the mid 90s and 90s. And I had so many friends and family that were fans of them, and they travel well, and they're trying to infiltrate Ohio State Stadium too. They're trying to get 3,500 in there. So I'm excited for the atmosphere. It's just cool. Like, I don't know. Just wanted to interject some. It's just the best football day in years today.
Ever. Best football day ever.
It's great. And then I think we're capping it off with the game that I'm most excited about. I don't know if that's just because I'm doing this from Texas and the vibes are pretty high for the Longhorns. We got a battle of 2 teams wearing various shades of orange. Clemson taking on the Longhorns in Austin. I love Texas here. Maybe again, that's just because I have to live in Texas, so I got to say that. But I think that Texas is just a far superior team to Clemson. That's just how I feel. It's the game that I'm most excited about. I think it's the most fun. Before we get into breaking it down too much, though, you can also have a lot of fun. If college football isn't your thing, you can have a lot of fun at Rosie's.
Rosie's is so much fun. And we're moving to Washington, as everybody knows, during the week. It's January the 2nd. I think we leave and pack up a bunch of stuff, and we've got a place there in DC.
Oh,
Rosie's.
All right.
Yeah, man. Rosie got a new, and we'll be close to Mitch. Rosie got a new location in Dumfries. He got a hotel there. It's like 30 minutes down south, down 95. Ann and I are looking forward to that. That's going to be kind of our hangout when we get tired of the political scene. And the best thing about going to DC and covering the Trump campaign is we know that on Friday afternoon he's getting on an airplane and going to Florida. So I'm not going there. So we're off the clock. So we're going to have a lot of fun in DC. We're 2 blocks from the White House, right there by Rosie's. If you want to have fun, go to rosiegaming.com. It is the most fun. They've got everything is there. This sportsbook, OTB, slot machines. They have the lowest. I'm going to steal this from Nate. I love this, Nate. They got the lowest rake in the country for slot machines. The lowest rake, which means government doesn't take out as much money, which means bigger jackpots, bigger payouts, more money. Have fun, win money, take your date there, get lucky twice. Gonna have a lot of fun. Go to rosiegaming.com, rosiesgaming.com. And when Colonial Downs opens, we're going to be there in our suite again, rosiesgaming.com.
I like
All
you
right,
slip.
let's get
I
this
like
text.
slipping in, get lucky twice. I love.
Hey, when you get to be my age, man, you got to take advantage of every opportunity out there. Mitch knows.
Good most of the time.
Nate
Okay.
and Jack are not part of this deal. You get a little bit older, you gotta take it. You got an opportunity. You just can't wait.
Pick
You
your
got to jump on
spots.
it.
Pick
You
your
got-
spots.
Okay. All right. So, how do we feel about Clemson, Texas? And if this conversation gets extended, we'll pick it up at the top of the hour after our reset. What do you guys
This is my doggy of the week. I
Whoa.
love Clemson. I
No.
love the points. I
I like
love
Texas even
Debo.
more.
Everybody is going to be everybody that hates what's going on in college football with the portal and the NIL and the money and Saban's leaving and all this thing that's going on. Everybody's rooting for Debo. So he basically said, I ain't changing the way I'm doing football. Screw all y'all. And there'll be no this, there'll be no portals. I'm going to recruit my players. I'm still going to your living room. I'm still talking to your parents. And if you want to come to Clemson, get a great education and play football and be a man, come and play for me. Yeah, I'm not going to give you the most money. Yeah, screw the portal. I'm not getting players there. I want to recruit players. This is old school. Everybody that loves the way it was is going to be rooting for him. And they're on a roll right now. And you talk about loose. This team's got nothing to lose. They love their coach. They love their program. I love them here with 13 and a half. I can see him winning the whole game.
Yeah, I like him on the money line.
Whoa.
Plus 401, baby.
You guys
Listen,
need to get out of here.
Plus
Yeah.
401. I mean, come on, man.
Couple reasons here. Number one is Texas blows. So that's the biggest thing. Like this Texas doesn't, I mean, like we want to talk about James Franklin constantly, like not showing up in big games. Like where has Texas been? Show me something. Like they never
Nowhere.
win big games. They never win big games. They always look a mess. They couldn't beat Georgia in the SEC championship with a backup quarterback where they like threw the ball 6 times and just ran it 100 and they needed overtime to even get close to that. I know Clemson isn't Georgia. I also love that Clemson won the ACC championship and is the 12th seed. I think that's hilarious. So I think that, like I respect ACC football right now. I really like SMU. I think that was a tough win for Clemson, and I think they can come out here and win this game. I mean, I really do. Like, I'm going to take the 13, but I've got them in a bunch of my brackets just upsetting Texas. This is the only real, like, sort of underdog, and I picked a lot of underdogs because why not? But this is the only underdog that I feel, like, really confident about. I just don't think they're a 12 seed, and Texas never shows me anything. They, like, when you put them on national television and everybody is watching, they look a mess. And so, yeah, maybe they come out and they roll Clemson, then they're going to lose to Arizona State. So this is like the other thing about this game is it's the race to, like, who wants to lose the Peach Bowl more, because both of these teams lose in Arizona State.
This one is going. Hey, this is for all you Trump fans, everybody. The powers that be are going to get righted here. The SEC is going to smack down the ACC today. The last time when Clemson played Georgia to start the year, they lost by 31 points or something. The last time this season, Clemson has no shot in this game. None at all. I am going Texas big, and I'll even do whatever. What are the money line? Minus 1,100 to win 100. Is that what it is? Like Baltimore last week, I would have won that too. No way. And the SEC gets right here. They smack down the ACC and just throws them back where they should be.
So Nate, are you taking notes here? Because when Clemson covers, like, are you going to open the show? Should we play Al? I need you to tape Mitch's rant, and I need you honestly, Al. I know you're a producer today. I need Mitch's rant and I need Nate's rant on Texas, because when Clemson covers, we're going to open the show, Nate, next week, playing their rants, and Jack and I are going to make fun of them because they're full of crap.
I'm going to FaceTime you guys tonight.
Ron's got a lot of needs. I have a lot of needs too, which is why we need a 1-minute reset before we come back and talk some NFL. Don't change the dial. We will be back in 1 quick minute.
Nate rock.
You're listening to Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network. For a deeper dive without the jive, visit the website of winners, GodzillaWins.com. Let's get back to the show with the guys in the know, John, Jack, and Nate. It's Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
Welcome back to the Godzilla Wins Saturday Pick Show. We are back talking some NFL. Go back and listen to the podcast. Find us on social media. Godzilla Wins Big on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. If you want to catch that first hour with our CFP picks, that'll be up live that'll be up recorded after the show finishes today. So we have some NFL stuff. We have games happening today, actually. We had a game on Thursday night. It was kind of a interesting AFC West battle. A lot going on. We're going to be giving out some picks later in the show. These are for entertainment purposes only, so we're going to give a little disclaimer here. If you have a gambling problem, I want you to call 1-800-GAMBLER. If you live in Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Nebraska, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming, call 1-800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelpline-ma.org. If you're in Massachusetts, call 877-G-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 in Kansas or New Hampshire, 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org if you're in Connecticut, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa or visit opgr.org if you're in Oregon. Okay, so Thursday Night Football. I mean, the Broncos had been sort of a fun team. They'd been sort of exciting. They were sort of interesting. And really, I mean, the Broncos just got outplayed by a Chargers team that's increasingly sort of looking like they're finding a real identity. I mean, in my eyes, that's sort of like what I'm seeing from the Chargers is like, this is what John Harbaugh does. Like, he just makes football teams that do weird stuff. He did that fair catch kick that everyone was talking about after the game. He gets his teams prepared for weird scenarios in ways that only like the most hardcore sort of football coaches do. They seem to want to play him. They respect that he knows ball. And I mean, this is what we're going to have to get used to, is just John Harbaugh back in the NFL doing weird stuff. What was your guys' reaction to Thursday Night Football?
Well, apparently he had to be told or reminded about the fair catch free kick. Someone on his staff mentioned to him that this was a possibility. That was weird and interesting. And they, for a long time they were up by only 3. So, that was a pretty big moment, and, Dicker can kick it from 60 yards without much of a problem, especially if there's nobody rushing you,
especially if it's just unopposed.
Yeah, it's just practice. I mean, I think the Chargers look really good. I think they've looked good since they played the Falcons. They have a pretty good defense, even though they gave up a ton of points to Denver. But Denver's a tough out, and Bo Nix is, still played pretty well. And they clamped down in the fourth quarter and sort of made some stuff happen. Also, the onside kick, that was exactly the bounce. This was the very end of the game. This was exactly the bounce you wanted if you're Denver, and the guy from the Chargers just snagged it out of the air. So that could have been a disaster for him. But, the AFC West is pretty tough. The Chiefs are the only team out of those 3 that I don't really respect. I think both the Chargers and the Broncos could make some noise in the wild card round. So we'll have to see. It's been a lot of fun watching.
And both of them have real paths. I mean, Denver needs to win or tie one of their next 2 games to get into the playoff, and the Chargers need to win one of 2 to get into the playoff as well. So I mean,
Chargers,
both of them are really, really sort of close. Coming.
I think Chargers are 97%. Yeah, basically, because even if they get a couple losses in there, it feels like the Chargers made an ascension. Like they made that step up. Considering the game before, they had one of the worst fourth quarters that Harbaugh's seen, and then to come out flat and be down at halftime and to be able to pull that comeback off and keep that comeback. I feel like you're seeing the AFC West slowly becoming maybe the best conference in football in the AFC. I mean, it's competitive. When we're talking about the least respected team being the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's really saying something. And credit out to Denver too, and Bo Nix and what they're doing there. I mean, these are two up and coming teams right now, and that's exciting for the future of the NFL and the AFC. Because it's getting kind of stale with the Ravens and the Chiefs all the time. So we're seeing some new blood in the mix. But I feel like this Chargers it was a turning point, like a pivot, and we'll see how that plays out. But they'll be in the playoffs, and it'll be interesting.
John, did you watch Thursday Night Football?
Yeah, I mean, look, I have to go to bed. I go to bed at 7:30, so I didn't watch the game. I watched the highlights when I get up, throughout the next day, as I figure out who I'm going to bet in hockey that night. Take a little time off to do something else other than what I do all day. But here's the thing I want to say, and of course, when you talk football, I'm going to bring my team in and then get it over with. The end of last season, San Diego had 5 wins. Tennessee had 6 wins. They both fired their coach. Right now, Tennessee's got 3 wins, and San Diego's going to the playoffs and probably is going to win a playoff game. And so these are these are franchises heading in opposite directions. And you gotta hand it to Harbaugh. I mean, wherever people say, "Oh, coach doesn't matter." I don't care where the guy goes. He wins games. I don't know how he does it, but he wins games. He changes things up. He changes the culture, and he gets people to play for him. And going into these playoffs, you don't want to play San Diego. You don't want to play the Bolts, right? I mean, this is the team that they're very, very tough. They find ways to win. They're a very dangerous team in the playoffs. And the game Thursday night was as I was watching it, the catching a whole bit, but the Chargers played a very good football game, as all teams do under Harbaugh. So I wouldn't count them out.
And I like to bring up my team too. The Steelers played both of these teams early in the season, and you couldn't even go to that game tape if you replayed them in the playoffs because they're both so different right now, and they've just grown as teams.
The Chargers are going to be one of these teams in the next couple of years to win 13 games. I think they're going to win a division crown here in a couple of years. That is what Harbaugh does. I mean, 9-6, he'll win 10, or whatever he wins this year, he'll win 10 or 11 games next year. Then he'll win 14, and then the wheels might come off or whatever. Like it doesn't always in the NFL. It's hard to sustain success, but this team is on the up and up. I mean, the difference between the Chargers and the Titans is that the Chargers always had a quarterback. I mean, they just needed the right coach to realize their success. But I mean, the Titans don't have a quarterback and haven't had a quarterback.
Mason Rudolph.
Okay, look,
yeah, that's
don't
right.
even get me started.
Come on,
this
man.
is why
it's Christmas time.
This is why we had Gentry just on the other day. He's the columnist for the Tennessean, and I read him religiously. This is when you're a good columnist and you can get people out of town to subscribe to your paper and read you and tag you, so when you do a column it pops up, because the guy nailed it. He said the franchise is a disaster. There's no leadership from Amy Adams, right? We haven't heard a word from her, but we don't know what they're going to do. There's no quarterback. There's no hope. There's no rebuild. There's no team. There's nothing. This is the biggest dumpster fire in the NFL country right now, is the Titans. At least if you're Carolina, you've showed improvement. You've been competitive. Bryce Young is back. There is hope. If you're a Titans fan, there is no hope. Your quarterback's a clown. You knew that after the first or second game. You knew that after the Jets game, this kid was not an NFL quarterback, throwing the ball to God knows who, under pressure. His brainwaves disconnect. Same thing happened to him in Kentucky. It never changes. He's benched. He's done. Out of the league next season, or somebody picks him up as a backup. We have no quarterback. Our defense is old. They signed all these has-beens. Yeah. It is a complete and utter disaster.
I didn't realize what a big mistake we made interviewing Gentry and having this at the forefront of your mind pre-show. That was a tactical error on our part, because now the show is hijacked by Titans rants. That was
Kirk Cousins. Sign him. Sign Kirk. You can save your whole season.
Go for it.
Or Aaron Rodgers, you've got this. You're cool, man. Look, the Jets turned it all around. You're good.
Let's just go ahead and pivot to something that people actually care about and talk.
Yeah, nobody cares about
Texans Chiefs. How about that? How about we just do that? We try this is a relevant thing to talk about. We'll talk Texans Chiefs. We'll talk Patrick Mahomes, who has had a high ankle sprain. He's been a full participant.
Sure.
I like
Sure.
if you're watching on video, I'm throwing up like quotes, a full participant in practice. The NFL never. I am suspicious of like what full participation means for Patrick Mahomes with a high ankle sprain. He looked pretty hobbled on Sunday, but they're at home. All they do is win. They're playing the Texans, who have had a choppier season than I think a lot of us were anticipating, and the Texans are a 3.5-point underdog heading into Arrowhead. I mean, I feel like if Mahomes isn't perfect, which I don't think he can be, I don't love laying more than a field goal to the Texans.
Yeah, well, that's assuming that. Like, so I come from a world when a high ankle sprain was almost as bad as like breaking your leg, and you were out for like half a year or a year. So if you truly believe that this flopper liar Patrick Mahomes has a high ankle sprain, then fine, adjust your bets. He's fine. He's healthy. He's such a baby. He's nursing it. He's fine. You don't run around and practice the next day with the high ankle sprain. He might have a sprain, but he does not have the high ankle sprain that they're talking about, or what degree or what level. So he's fine. Why would he play today?
Though. Yeah. Like, I think that Kansas City's just sandbagging and maybe actually is hurt, and they're just saying, oh yeah, like really he just fully participates in practice by just walking around slowly.
No, I think he's just I'm a miracle worker. I mean, come on, he's got a little dad bod. I mean, he's just not like a freak athlete. I mean, he's a freak athlete with his arm, but he's not like some dude that just regenerates cells. He's not taking enough healthy cell to just be back out there the next day. So, and also, with all that said, I'm never betting against the Chiefs again. I picked the Browns last week. I picked the Browns, believed it. I like sat there for like 5 minutes, like, yeah, that's not. So I'm never betting against the Chiefs again. So I'm taking the Chiefs because Mahomes is fine, and now they're going to go on their little stupid run.
I'm going to do this for Jack.
Yeah, well, look, this is the.
I'm sorry. I'm going to do this for Jack. I'm going to quote Mark Twain, who said, the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. It's basically what Mahomes is. I mean, this is a sandbag job. Mitch nailed it. He's sandbagging everybody, and this game should be 6 or 6.5. It's 3.5 because he's sandbagging. I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, one thing about having a betting show is you're wrong a lot. I mean, that's how it goes. So
especially
me.
I suck.
Yeah, that's true. The plus 900 Giants play didn't exactly pan out. Although on principle, that's still a good play.
I won my 100.
Good play.
I may have forked up a bunch, but
but you won your 100.
Up one.
I mean, the Texans have a really good defense. Like they're a top 10 defense. They do a lot of things really well on that side of the ball. And I do think Mahomes is probably hobbled. I don't think he's necessarily nursing it. I think he'll have a big old rap. I think what he loves is attention more than anything. And so I think he's going to play, and then he's going to get hurt at some point, and then he's going to be hobbling around. And then everybody's going to be like, wow, what a hero. Look, he's playing through an ankle. He twisted his ankle. Oh, my God, Patrick Mahomes. But he probably is hurt. And so I just like the under. I don't think they're going to score that many points. And the Chiefs have a pretty good defense too. It's only 39.5. So you really got to cheer for like no points because you can get to 39.5 pretty quick. But I like the under here.
I'm not doing it. I've never won an over/under bet in football in my
but like
I'm
life.
Not, I'm 66 years old.
Yeah, but like, but I'm not talking to you. Like I'm not talking to you.
I'm
like
not doing it.
I'm like we have listeners here who actually do these. Like not everything you're on the show. You're not listening to the show.
What?
We have thousands of people listening to our show, John.
But I tell you what, the NFL is they're rooting for whatever situation they can have Mahomes on Christmas playing, because if they win, there's a chance. Is there a chance that they have it all wrapped up or not, or if he gets hurt too? So they probably want him to sit out because then there'd be a bigger chance for him to lose this week, and then for sure he's playing on Wednesday. So,
well, what do you think of Pittsburgh playing 3 games in 10 days or something? What the hell is that about?
So there's the gauntlet, the teams that are doing that, they're all playing today, right? So it's the Chiefs, the Texans, the Steelers, and the Ravens. They're all going through that same thing. And then you got Buffalo just chilling, just like 7 days rest, 7 days rest. So yeah, I think it's unfair. It's a scheduling quirk to try to make a ton of money around Christmas, but just go out and play. You got to deal with it. The Steelers, if they wrap stuff up, if they win today, they may rest starters too because they have nothing else to play for. They'd win the division.
So let's get to that game. Pittsburgh Steelers later today are playing the Baltimore Ravens. Pittsburgh's 6.5, 7-point underdog. Going to Baltimore. The Tomlin trends in divisional games and against the Ravens are pretty well documented. He's like 47 million 5-0 against the spread as an underdog of 3 or more points. He's about 100,000 2-1 to the under in these games. It's a heavy trend game. It's like I don't have him in front of me today, but I mean, this is like an obvious Tomlin like underdog smash spot. If you just love trends, it's an underplay. If you love trends, these games are always close. They're always one score. If you're catching a touchdown, it's just like auto bet the Steelers here. That being said, Lamar Jackson's been playing pretty good, and he's been playing pretty well. So I don't know. I mean, how confident are you in the Steelers' ability to sort of hang in this game this week?
It's going to be a tough game. I kind of went Peter this week and looked at some game film in all 22 because I was like looking to see how Lamar Jackson can't beat the Steelers or what he does to struggle. And it looks like he just pushes the ball too much against the Steelers for whatever reason. He doesn't play his normal game and he just doesn't go to the checkdowns, and the checkdowns were wide open everywhere last game. He just kept forcing him to the wrong play, which is not like him. So I would expect him, after all the talk, after the Kyle Brandt rant on NFL Network saying, it's not even a rivalry anymore because it's 8 out of 9. It's basically like the Steelers playing the Browns. I think with all of that and everything going into it, Ravens have to come out and execute their game plan. If they do that, it's going to be extremely difficult. The Steelers are without George Pickens again, and when your number one wide receiver is Van Jefferson, that is a legit problem. So the Steelers are going to have a hard time moving the ball, and I hate to say it, but I would go with Baltimore today. I just think that they're going to make the right plays and play their style of game, and it's just going to be too much. The injuries that Pittsburgh is facing is just going to be too much this week.
Mitch, you nailed it. It's very difficult as a fan to pick against your team, and I always say it's got bad juju, so I never do it. No, it's got bad juju.
I hate it. I can't do it.
I'm never going to bet against the Astros. I mean, it's just not going to do it. It's bad. I mean, I just don't need it. But I respect what you're saying. You watched the game last week in Philadelphia. Certainly, the Najee fumble changed the game. They were going in for a touchdown. That changed the whole tenor of the game. But Philadelphia outplayed them, right? I mean, that was the other thing of this. But I tell you what, in watching that game, if you watch the Steelers every week, I'm in Pittsburgh, obviously they're on TV and they're on the radio. We carry them nationally. The missing Pickens is the heart and soul of that team. I mean, there's so many times where Russell goes to Pickens on those 3rd and 4s, 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 2s, and the guy's always there. He always catches it. He always manages to wedge himself open. That was a huge hole they had last week. I don't see them beating Baltimore again in Baltimore. And I think the comments made were dumb. Like, it's not a rivalry. Yeah, it is a rivalry because they're going to kick your ass now. So I'm with Mitch. I like the Ravens minus the 7.
Yeah, I don't usually go in the opposite direction of the trends, Nate. I mean, I'm not going to go against the trends because I didn't do it last week and I'm not going to do it this week. And if we go 0-2 where Tomlin fails to cover 2 spreads as an underdog, then fine. But trend wise, he always covers these spreads. 6.5 is a lot of points to lay in a game with massive implications. I mean, this is like, what are the Ravens, 1 back of the Steelers now? Like, I don't understand the spread really. I understand the Pickens thing and everything else, but I mean, the spread should probably be closer to 3 or 4. So to get 6.5, I think I like that with Pittsburgh. They didn't cover last week, but they could have. They're too good a team to be like not hammering 6 points.
I think what happened here, Jack, is we looked at the spread last week in Philadelphia at 5.5. And a lot of people like me jumped on Pittsburgh, thought they could win that game, and we just thought this game should be 3. Why is it 5.5? But the Eagles covered, and they got up and they covered, and there was the fumble, but that was in the 3rd quarter, so it's not like it was it was not like the Ernest Biner Browns thing at Denver when he was going over to win the
Nice
game.
pull. Nice pull. Were they even born
you.
yet? That's nice. Good one.
So thank you. But they, if you watch the game, I mean, you never really were confident that Pittsburgh was going to win that game, and I think that's what's driving it up to 7, Jack.
Yeah, I think what's also driving it up to 7 is TJ Watt's is hurt, and
Yeah.
that's a big deal. He got injured, last week in Philly, low ankle sprain. X-rays were
A real
negative,
ankle
but
sprain.
he hasn't really been practicing very much, and it sort of seems up in the air whether or not Pittsburgh will choose to be conservative with TJ Watt, which they've been pretty conservative with injured players all season, or if he's going to do enough to be able to get out there and impact the game. I mean, the defense just suffers so much without him on the field, and even him being hobbled is just – it's going to be really tough to control.
Yeah, expect a Duck Hodges style game. Muddle it up, try to make it close, but it just seems Baltimore has the more potential to bust it open, especially with injuries.
And if you follow Tomlin, and I know a lot of people are not Tomlin fans, Tomlin's philosophy is always we're going to live today for another day. I mean, that's always been his philosophy. So if there's any chance that that this ankle could get re-injured, Tom is just not going to play him, figuring we'll live for another day next week. We'll win that game. We'll get in the playoffs. We'll win the division, and then we got our number one defender back. Why am I going to roll the dice on Christmas Day, or I mean on Saturday today when I got another game coming? So I don't think he plays, and I think the Ravens roll.
Yeah, and that Tomlin's going to be focused. If you need to get a little focus like Mike Tomlin, you should get some or some Healthy Cell focus packs. It is the favorite of athletes, radio show hosts, niche politicians from Virginia. It's written in our ad sheet. Everyone's using it, and everyone loves the results. John, tell us a little bit more about how people can get a little bit more focus in their life.
I get up every day, I brush my teeth, and first thing I take is my Healthy Cell Focus. I'm 66. I'm getting up at 3:40, 45. I got 4 hours of radio. I'm on TV the whole time. I got callers, I got politicians, I got guests, I got senators, I got all sides of the aisle. I mean, I got to be sharp as a tack, right? And when you're taking phone calls all day and people are blasting you for whatever positions that you take, and you get these high-level politicians on, and you're going through a government shutdown, you better be at the top of your game or get off the air. I mean, it's very simple. I don't care what you're doing. You want to be a top. I tell you who turned me on to this, because I'm like focused. Like, what is that? I take REM sleep. I take this and that. I take the bio. Doug Collins. Doug Collins now nominated for veteran secretary of the VA, former congressman, great friend of mine. He used to have his own show. We gave him on our network. Called me up one day. Said, "Hey, dude, are you taking this focus from Healthy Cell?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "You got to get this because it's really made a difference in the level of sharpness that I have." So I started taking it. I never miss a day. So if you got to be sharp at work, if you got to be sharp at home, if you want to be at the top of your game, this thing is all natural. It's one of the best things that you can take, and you're going to see a difference. I mean, I take it every day. I brush my teeth, tear it off, take my focus, go to work. I'm good to go. And I got to be atop my game every day. And sometimes I get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, as everybody knows. So just go to healthycell.com, healthycell.com/Godzilla. Get your focus. And if you put in promo code Godzilla, you're going to get 20% off your first order. Try it, and you're going to get hooked. We got you. You try it, we got you.
All right. We're going to stay locked in here, and we are going to talk about Detroit Lions. They are -6.5 traveling to Chicago and playing in Soldier Field. Chicago, this is basically a lost season. I mean, that just is what it is. Caleb Williams has not played well. The Bears didn't do anything to help him, firing offensive coordinators, firing head coaches, elevating this person, downgrading this person, changing play callers. It's been a mess. It's not all on him, but he has not played well. Detroit they were the hot team. They're still 12-2. They've won a lot of games, but at this point, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 defensive players on the IR. Hard to win football games when basically all of your good defensive players are injured and not coming back. do they have enough? I mean, surely they have enough juice to beat Chicago. We would think, but do they have enough to cover 6.5?
Yeah, the
I
Bears
say
will packed it in.
I say take the over here. That's where I'm at in this game. Is the Lions defense is a sieve. Last week Josh Allen exposed that, and Caleb Williams is not exactly Josh Allen, but let's just take the over here. I mean, the Lions score all the time, and they just can't put together a defense on the field that can really stop anybody. I mean, the Bills are going down the field like crazy, scoring just at will in that game, which I thought the Lions were going to win. So I'm just going to take the over here. I don't know what to do with the spread.
I think the sneaky play is to just forget about Chicago and just take the Lions team total over, because you know that they'll score.
Yeah.
Just 27.5, just book that, just over 27.5 for the Lions, and just call it a day. Not even.
I kind of like that bet. Nate. One of the things that hurt Chicago is, even though they had to fire Eberflus after that clown show he put on Thanksgiving Day, where he couldn't manage the clock and they had no choice but to fire him. Remember, this was their defensive coordinator, and he was still calling
their defense
defensive plays.
Bad.
And ever since he's gone, the defense has gone to hell in a handbasket. And that was a signature of the team. And they got kind of pissed because they lost their defensive coordinator. So I kind of like that bet. I mean, it's hard to imagine that, Detroit's not going to score 4 or 5 touchdowns in this game. 28.5, probably not a good bet. I'm not going to bet it because I don't bet those overs. I never win those. We've already been over this. But I think that's a good play.
Yeah, I trust Detroit here. I mean, I know the injuries. I mean, special teams too, a huge injury there. So I think it's going to catch up with them. It's going to be tough to win the Super Bowl with these injuries. But a week after getting smacked on national TV, I think they come back. Campbell has them ready, and they blow out the Bears today. So I'm going to take them. And how unfortunate! That's not fair that Montgomery gets hurt. I mean, Sonic the Hedgehog just came out. Their nicknames are Sonic and whatever. And he gets hurt. It's like Dan and Dave, like back in the day with the Olympics, and then one didn't make the Olympics. Like right when the movie comes out, they've been hyping it all the way now. But Jahmyr, like a running back, I don't think it's too big of an issue. I know you like to have a two-headed monster, but Jahmyr Gibbs should be able to shoulder that load. I mean, as long as he stays healthy. But I think it eventually catches up. But they bounce back this week. They're not going to lose 2 in a row, and I believe they win by a touchdown or more. So I'm going to take Detroit here with the points.
Can I pose this question, Nate? May I?
Yes.
Let me pose this question to the panel. You guys both, all three of you mentioned it. The Detroit defense got exposed last week, shockingly. I mean, just got run over. I mean, you watch that game and you're like, they were never going to stop this team once. And this is probably one of the best offenses they played. And we're all talking about them going to the Super Bowl. All of our fathers said, defense wins playoff games. You can't win with an offense. Got to have a defense. I mean, the level of exposure they had last week, how concerned should Lions fans be about that? I'm just going to throw it out there.
Yeah, extremely. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's just an injury issue, and they've had issues keeping people healthy, keeping players healthy since, Dan Campbell's been there. They're always kind of hobbled. And their defense wasn't good to begin with. Like, I mean, they were passable, but they've never been known for their defense.
Since Aiden Hutchinson went down, it's really taken a step back.
Yeah. So I mean, I think this was my pick to win the Super Bowl 5 weeks ago, and now I'm pretty silent on that choice, because it's just their defense they're too hurt. It's nothing they did. They haven't done anything wrong. They're just injured.
They just need to grit. You have to grit out the home field advantage, and if you can do that, then there's possibilities, because you're in your dome and you don't have to take that defense on the road, and you can potentially score with other teams. But I agree. Now you're kind of like everybody before. It's just a matter of fact. Detroit's in. And if they're not, it's an upset. Now you kind of have to go and look at the other tiers and right in their own division. With Minnesota and Green Bay. I mean, you got a lot of now NFC teams that are like, whoa, wait a second. You've got the Rams that are like, hey, you keep Stafford upright. Wait a second. We can do this now too. So the NFC just became wide open.
I think it's also worth like kind of tapping the brakes a little bit on Lions fans feeling like, this could be a really like sort of disappointing sort of end of the season, because okay, so they lose to Buffalo, which is an unbelievable offense. I mean, Josh Allen's basically the MVP. He's playing at just an insanely high level right now, running and throwing the football. And they still lose that game by 6. I mean, yeah, they gave up 48 points, but they also scored 42 against Buffalo's defense. It's not like a total pushover. Like the Lions can just, like if they can just sort of switch their identity and just be comfortable playing shootouts, which they won against Green Bay in a shootout. Like I don't think that this is, like the end of the season for Detroit. It's just an adjustment and they just are going to have to score a lot of points. But thus far, I mean, they've shown the ability to score a lot of points. I mean, so I don't like think that, I'm trying not to overreact to, one bad game against the MVP of the league where you lose by less than a touchdown. I mean,
and it might be in their favor that some of their main competition will be division foes. So those are always kind of rivalry, muddled up games anyway, and they stay close anyhow. But yeah, I mean, their chances have gone down, but they're still right in the mix with that record, 6-0, perfect record on the road still. So they're formidable. But man, those injuries, the Montgomery one, I mean, that hurts because it's hard to rely on one back the whole time.
All right. 2 teams that are basically playing for nothing. The Cleveland Browns are taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Browns look like they've basically given up on the season. They've benched Jameis after throwing 1 million interceptions. They are starting Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who has been nothing short of horrific in his NFL career. He's thrown 146 passes. That includes 1 touchdown and 7 interceptions. Not good. Just not good stats. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is not an upgrade over Jameis Winston in any universe that we can conceive of. And here they are doing this anyways. So I don't know. I mean, like my conspiracy mind is sort of like, is there something in Jameis's contract where he can't play a certain percentage of snaps without triggering some sort of gigantic bonus? I haven't seen anyone reporting on that, but I just wonder if there's something hidden there because this doesn't make any sense to me otherwise.
You're looking for the future, Dorian.
Bengals are -8.5.
Was it who was Jack? Who was Dorian Gray? Was that the guy that wouldn't age? Was that the book of
That's Benjamin Button. Well, Benjamin Button ages in
backwards.
reverse.
No, remember there was some movie, there was some book on this guy that
he
never aged. I think his name was Dorian Gray. They made a movie about it, and 50 years later, he's 25 years old or something. Look, who cares? I mean, this game is like, I'm rooting for the Bengals because, I'm rooting for the Browns so that they get another win, so we get a higher draft pick in Tennessee. So, I mean, this game is like a clown show. Did anybody ever think at the beginning of the season this game would be like a joke, like it didn't matter? Both teams eliminated.
I was pretty optimistic about Cleveland to start the season.
Whoa. Hey, all the fans on the Escalooser right now in Cincinnati are mad at us right now. They are not eliminated. They have to win out. They have to beat the Browns, the Broncos, and the Steelers. The Broncos have to lose every game, and Miami needs to lose 1 out of their last 3 games as well. Bengals are playing for the playoffs here, folks. Everything's on the line.
Everything's matters.
This is their playoffs.
They got a 1%
5th string
chance.
quarterback.
They're out. Miami's out. It's like ridiculous.
All
these teams are out.
I would, you know what?
Chance.
You know what would suck though? Nobody wants to face that Bengals team if they got in the playoffs. Like just throwing up 500 yards of offense willy-nilly everywhere. Nothing to lose.
Playoffs, dude. They're not going to no playoffs. I mean,
I know. I'm going Browns all the way. I'm with you. Knock him out.
We could play the tape. What was that? The famous Colts coach when he said, playoffs. We try to win a football game. So they're not going to do that. By the way, Dorian Gray Lori just texted me and said Dorian Gray was a guy that he aged, but there was a painting of him. He didn't age, but the painting aged.
Yeah,
and that was the story behind Dorian Gray.
Freaky.
I figured you literary guys would know that.
I thought it was a mirror.
No, it was a painting that age.
I just don't know why we're talking about Oscar Wilde's 1890 novel on.
I like it.
On the
because
radio.
You guys
take it to
are
Substack,
literary professors and stuff like that. You teach American lit. You're like experts in your field. You're a great writer. By the way, if you're not following Jack's Substack, I just got to throw out this.
I don't have a Substack.
Well, whatever your things are that you write, that you send to me, they're fantastic. The review you did of the Trump movie was one of the best movie reviews. Now, I'm not going to see it because it's anti-Trump, but I thought your review I read it 3 times. It was phenomenal. I mean, you're a
Well
very
done.
gifted writer. So you want, I don't know how
Yeah,
people
those
find
are
that,
just-
but it was good.
I'm
Those
just,
are
yeah, I
published
mean, yeah, I just publish articles in magazines of rapport. So I don't
That's
have a
right.
Substack. I just do
No
the old school
Substack
thing.
necessary.
Like, you know,
So if you
Yeah.
want to Google
cooler to
him,
do
go
magazines.
if you want to Google him, go to John M. You got to put the M in there. Otherwise, you get all my nonsense. Go to John M. Fredericks, and then you'll be able to get everything there. And you're really gonna
Yeah.
enjoy his writing.
What
Jack,
are we
it's sim-
talking
Jack,
about?
Jack, it's similar when I explain to people what we're doing this morning. They're like, a podcast. I'm like, no, it's on like 14 radio stations. Like, radio? It's on like
27.
real 27 radio.
27,
Sorry.
excuse me.
I had divided by 2. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we're
I
kings of West
27
Virginia
was-
now.
yeah. Oh, dude.
Oh,
Oh,
we're
I
the
love it.
kings.
That's right.
Oh my
yeah.
God! Starting on January 6th,
You bought all the stations we listened to. So I used to drive to
9
Morgantown,
stations.
and we used to just sit around, and there was no radio station. And we used to play this game where we would just scan. You bought every station, like the 4 stations that would scan on 68 when you're driving to Morgantown. I was like,
You
what?
put every station on the
I
top.
interned.
You
I
hit the
interned for
button.
one of them. Just you buy them
Yeah.
all. This is
I
great.
And
didn't,
you hit
I
the
didn't
button.
even.
Remember
Yeah.
those scan buttons you would hit? Like, let me find another song.
Yeah.
we
You're,
used to-
you're gonna get between 6 and 10. John Frederick Show. John Frederick Show. John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What
Some
a
kids
good
will-
old
some
guy.
kids will be just
Godzilla
drinking-
muted.
Drinking their icy light, driving to Morgantown. Oh wait, no, wait, no.
I will say that it does fire me up when people are like, "Oh, how's the podcast?" I'm always like,
Yeah,
"It's a
me
radio
too.
show."
Doesn't that piss you
It's
off?
awesome.
We
I
do
love
it
it.
live.
Yeah, like I don't
But
know
this is
why
live
it makes
radio.
me so mad, but I'm always
See,
like,
now
I'm
you're
always
getting
like,
into
"No, like,
business because that now you're getting it.
Mm,
Now, that
It's
that
the
makes
only
me
time
feel
I get
good.
like sort of defensive about this show is when someone's like, "Oh, what a cute podcast." I'm like,
And
no.
sometimes I almost lay out a 4-letter word. I'm like, whoa, 27 stations. Hold up.
yeah,
This is
come
this
on.
is
I mean,
live.
that's
This is
PC.
live radio. Not only
podcast.
is live
Yeah.
radio, it's live video. We're right now live. We're on Getter Live. We're on YouTube Live. We're on X Live. We're on Rumble Live. We got thousands of people
Well,
tuning in
that-
this
yeah,
video
but
now.
That does make it sound like a podcast if you're just
Yeah,
talking.
That's
well,
cool
we're
too,
on
though.
live.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, every
We're on
podcast.
27
Yeah.
radio
Better
stations.
stats.
We're on every. We're in Nashville, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Atlanta, 5 in Virginia, and 9 in West Virginia. I don't even know where else. There's a lot of radio stations. This is a live radio show. I mean,
It's
this
a
is not
coincidence that
podcast.
there's drones in every area you mentioned too. Is that a coincidence?
And
Yeah,
sadly,
Well, maybe-
this whole
maybe you're up to my
conversation about
towers.
us being legitimate radio magnates is taking
Yes.
valuable time away from the next game on the run sheet. The Tennessee
The Titans
Titans
game.
are
Oh,
taking on the Indianapolis Colts.
we only got 10 seconds left for
And
it.
I'm worried that John just used all his juice talking about the Titans earlier. He has nothing left to say, but I know that's not true.
Yeah, they
They're 3.5
suck.
point underdog.
They suck. I mean, if you're betting the Titans here, you just don't like money. I guess you like to be broke. This is the biggest dumpster fire clown show in the NFL, and they got nowhere to go. Worse than Cleveland, worse than the Jets, worse than Carolina, worse than Oakland. I would take any of these franchises over what is going on right now. I'm an Amy fan. Okay, I love how she gained control of the team. She's savvy. Trump supporter, gave him money, all that stuff. Great. Got the stadium, millions of dollars of taxpayer money. Now they want to charge license fees to get season tickets. Put this crap product on the field. It is an absolute clown show they got going on in Tennessee with no plan. I mean, you got to have a plan. There is no plan. They are going to get blown out in Indianapolis as they should.
No plan. They're 2-12 against the spread this year, so they suck
Yeah,
against the
you may
spread
actually
too.
be right about hating money. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll just take the Colts. This week in sports, like other than the Saturday games, it kind of sucks, which is why I had to put the Colts Titans on the run sheet. There's like not a lot of good games. So probably
Well,
that's
that
probably
might kill
enough.
you to put-
Bad quarterbacks. Go ahead and watch this game.
What? Whoa! It's Christmas time. It is Christmas. You got Mason Rudolph, who saved last year, 12 months ago, right now. Mason Rudolph came
Oh,
in.
come
Kenny
on.
Pickett threw them to the side. He saved the Steelers season. They beat the
Stop.
Bengals, and
Make
they
it go
rolled to the
away.
playoffs. They rolled to the playoffs. Mason
Nate, make it
Rudolph
stop, please.
has taken over the Tennessee Titans 3 days before Christmas, and you are going to bet against the Tennessee Titans. I'm
Yeah,
not.
they
I'm
suck,
laying.
and so
I'm
does he.
laying the wood. 3
He's not gonna
units.
be-
let's
He's not gonna be
Mason
back-
Rudolph,
he's not gonna
3
be back
units.
next
Well, no, you
season.
get 3 points.
I
yeah,
know.
plus
I'm,
3.5.
I'm getting
I mean,
some points. I'm putting 3 units on there.
You
And
can
they're
get
at
20
home,
and
you
Wife
know?
isn't listening to this.
Yeah, Nashville's pretty.
No, it's in Indy.
pretty tough place
It's
to
in
play,
Indy.
You know?
Indy.
Rudolph doesn't lose
It's in
the
Indy.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Nah, I think it's in
Rudolph
Nashville.
doesn't lose around Christmas, guys.
No.
We have no quarterback.
wrong.
We have no plan.
This is
We have nothing.
blasphemous.
We got nothing. I'd rather
Yeah.
be the Jets.
You used to have no quarterback.
I mean,
Now you made the
here's
right move.
Here's the thing about Mason Rudolph is he is elite in the company of quarterbacks that he's keeping for this week. EPA plus CPOE, not to bore you with acronyms, is basically like one of like the better metrics for analyzing quarterback play. There are 42 qualified quarterbacks this season. Mason Rudolph is 21st. Will Levis is 35th out of 42 quarterbacks. And they're playing the 42nd ranked out of 42 qualified quarterbacks, Anthony Richardson. So, in terms of just like Mason Rudolph is 21 spots better than Anthony Richardson in this rating. That doesn't make him good, but it makes him a lot better than Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. So if you're looking for a reason to bet on the Titans, I guess you could.
So we just went full circle. Mason Rudolph around Christmas is why you take the Titans.
Yeah, you take a team that's just totally in free fall. All right, let's just keep.
And then you sign him long term, John. Then you just wrap him up, sign him long term. You've got your guy.
He's gone next season. I wouldn't bet the Titans with Joe Biden's money. Forget it. I mean, the team is just a joke. Mason Rudolph's gone. His contract's up. They're not going to re-sign him. They got to figure out. They got to figure out life. I mean, they figure out like they don't have a coach. The Callahan is he's a clown. Okay, and I'm sick of his press conference. Oh, my team really plays hard. We keep losing, but you're really playing hard. And, I really love my team. They really play hard. Like, shut up. Like, get out there and tell the truth that your team sucks and you guys can't score a touchdown and your quarterback's an imbecile. If you say that, maybe I'll have some faith in you. You got to get fired. Your father, the whole thing, just clean house. Start over. You can't get worse.
This entire conversation is causing me to lose hair, get wrinkles, and it's affecting my nail health. Luckily for me, this show is brought to you by Native Path. Get nativepath.com/Godzilla and get some collagen. I'm going to mix some in after this show just to make up for the stress that I'm enduring right now listening to that whole conversation about the Colts and the Titans. Go to getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Get some collagen today. Jay and John love it. You can get it for, I think, 40. Is it up to 40% off? You can get
45% off.
Journey for $21. Try it out. What do you have to lose? We're all big believers in it. Skin, nails, hair. I mean, it may not. I still got a pretty good, I have a hat on all the time, but I still got a little bit to show you that the hair growth can be there.
Show off.
Dude, I'm not taking mine off.
Yeah, I mean, he takes his hat off and fluffs his hair in front of three guys that have no hair.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to sell the collagen.
I mean, geez, I'm growing some hair back also here.
So
Yeah, it looks awful. You need to shave that. Nate was just texting me. He's like, "Why does John's comb over look so weird?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't know." So whatever you're doing, like, get rid of that, shave it off. You looked
You
much
liked
better.
it better
with
when I
the-
just shaved it off, right? You like
yeah,
it?
whatever's going on now looks really weird. So don't do that
Yeah.
anymore.
the proportions are all off. Like it's
Yeah.
like 2/3 of your head is
No.
covered by hair, but then there's like 1/3 kind of off center that's not.
Yeah, it's awful. It looks awful.
Yeah, the comb over thing. In order to, like my son Joseph, your brother says, Dad, in order to do a comb over, you have to have something to comb. You can't do a comb over when there's no hair to comb over. Like what? This
Yeah.
little peach fuzz going on there. You shave that
Right.
sucker off.
Yeah, I do a little comb over, but it's tough, man. I mean, you got to really get the pomade working and the
tough.
you got to sit there with the comb for a while to get it to look anywhere natural. It doesn't look natural, but there's only so much you can do when you don't have any hair.
Yeah.
What do you
You're
use?
gonna be more of
Palm
like a
something?
hair
What is that called?
analyst than like a hair stylist at some point in the journey.
Well, good.
Like,
I mean, you
we
could
can
just
make this
keep
work.
mocking us and taking your hat off, Nate, and showing us up. That's fine. Mitch, I saw Mitch. I was on a Zoom call with him the other day. I saw him without his hat off. I'm like, now I understand.
Oh yeah,
He always has that
I'm
on.
at 27 years old. Like, you can't even do a comb over. You're not allowed. So the only thing I could do was shave it.
You just had to give it up.
Yeah.
As Scott Van Pelt calls it, going home.
I'm
coming
20 years shaving the head. I haven't been to a barber that long. I miss it.
You shave your head?
Yeah.
Did you shave it?
Yeah.
Like with like a razor in the
Yeah.
shower?
Yeah. Just a Mach 6 or I don't know. Is it 7 now? I don't even know where we're at. Yeah. It's not fun, but the ladies love it.
It's a lot more inspiring conversation than Titans Colts. So that's good.
It is.
At least
It
we
is.
got
But
off
it's
that
not a
note.
more inspiring conversation than this next game, which is actually meaningful.
It's awesome.
Unlike our hair.
Mhm.
Philadelphia Eagles 12-2 taking on the Washington Commanders, who are 9-5. They had a little losing streak. They've won the last 2 in a row. Commanders are +3.5. I mean, this is a very low spread for a Philly team that has looked really good. And Jalen Hurts looked really good against Pittsburgh last week. It feels a little bit like a trap to me.
Fly Eagles fly, I believe.
Really?
I've not been on the Eagles bandwagon until last week. This is a very good football team I saw last week. Hurts, the level of confidence I saw in him as the season has progressed has gotten better. I mean, he's always been good. There was always that, can he really get it done? And I didn't see that last week. This team has got a great defense. They score points, and they just keep winning. And Washington, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on right now. By the way, interesting little tidbit in the government shutdown bill that got scrapped. They skinnied it down. In the original bill was federal money to rebuild RFK Stadium so that Washington could move back there. Now, coming to Washington, I got to tell you, I hope somebody finds the money to do that, because if you can refurbish RFK Stadium, you're going to refurbish that city. And if you can get the Commanders, or whatever you want to call them, back into RFK, it's going to have a huge impact on downtown Washington.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how they get this done, but I went to RFK Stadium one time, one game, and it just rocked. It's a lot of fun there because you're right downtown. You just walk there from half the city, or just take the metro. So we'll see what happens there. But I think right now there's smoke and mirrors. I like the Eagles.
The buzz right now for the Redskins, or for the Commanders, is palpable. I mean, there's an excitement and an energy around here that hasn't been seen in a long time. And with the new, it looked like with the new updated spending bill, they still passed the provision where they can allow RFK or to go to that site. But to speak on RFK, growing up around here, my first concert, Pink Floyd, was at RFK. I've seen so many concerts there. I've been to multiple Redskins games. I went to the last Redskins game ever against the Cowboys at RFK. If they get to move back to that city, it goes from the worst home field advantage to one of the top 3. And they'll do something. If you used to go, they used to have a part of the stadium that rocked, because it was like one of those convertible stadiums like Three Rivers and all that. And when it got so loud and raucous back there during the Gibbs era, it would bounce, and it was fun. So I hope they do too. They have a lot good to grow on with Jaden Daniels and stuff. With that said, the Eagles are a better team, and I think that they're going to. I think the Eagles need to be careful with Saquon Barkley here. He's going after that Dickerson record. I think they need to pull him away from that. The goal is bigger than that, and maybe get to that passing game a little more. And A.J. Brown talking a little smack may have helped this team, because now they did recognize that they can have a different version of their offense, save Saquon a little bit for when you're really going to need him. And I think you're going to see a lot of the passing game this week. Saquon here in bits. They're not going to load him up like they did last week against the Steelers, and they'll control the game. I think it will be closer than, but I think the Eagles win by more than 4.
I know this is a 1:00 game. I wish it were in the flex position so we could have flexed it for a Sunday night game. This is an exciting game that'll be a lot of fun, and instead we're
the division after that.
If they win, and instead we're subject to the Bucks Cowboys Sunday night football. I'd rather ram my head into a cactus than watch that game. So I'm not exactly super thrilled of our Sunday night choice. Lately, I haven't been super thrilled with a lot of the Sunday night choices here. So, but yeah, I like the Commanders. I mean, I think the Commanders are pretty tough. I think they're playing for a lot. So I'm going to take the points here. Though the Eagles have been tough, so we'll see.
I like you can just know where Jack is regionally by his quip.
Right, and get
Ram
get
my
ready for
cacti.
some cactus ramming, because that's actually going to be up next. Because what we're going to do is we're going to skip some of these garbage games. I'm just looking at the run sheet.
Can we have a segment
If you
called
wanted to
Cactus
hear a
Ramming?
breakdown on
Cactus
Cards
ramming.
Panthers, that's out. We're not doing that.
Okay, scratch off.
If you wanna hear our breakdown on Pats Buffalo Bills, we're not doing that either. That's
All right,
out.
fair enough.
Those games were just
There were
All
no
my-
good games to
all
put
my
on the
notes,
schedule.
all my notes I wrote, all my
Look at
stuff.
this run sheet.
All
Look at
your
this
stuff.
run sheet.
Oh
save it for your
man.
podcast, Mitch.
Oh,
Um,
oh.
This is
All right.
this is definite head cactus ramming time.
all right.
There's no
Oh,
good
God.
games this week. I mean, it was hard to put a run.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are taking on a resurgent Dallas Cowboys team. They won last week. They're a 4-point underdog to Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have, haven't lost in a month. They've been pretty good after their bye week. They've looked a lot better. Convincing win against the Chargers last week. Beat the Raiders before that. Snuck past the Panthers. Beat the heck out of the Giants. I mean, they've had some good games. They've looked good. Dallas looks like they paid a lot of money to Dak Prescott for a level of production they could have gotten out of Cooper Rush, which is always a good thing for fan bases to look at and think, oh, yeah, so we paid this guy $180 million so that he could play as good or worse than our backup quarterback. Sweet. I'm glad we're saddled with this contract from now until eternity.
I love the Cowboys in this.
You love the Cowboys?
This is my best bet of the week.
It's your best bet.
In Dallas. I love this game. I love the Cowboys. I love them at home. I love the fact that they were an underdog to Carolina, went out there and kicked their ass. And they're kind of tired of getting pushed around and made fun of. And look, McCarthy's fighting for his job. I'm a McCarthy fan. The guy's
He's not fighting
for
for his job.
He's fighting for his job. He's fighting.
He's fighting for his next job.
He's fighting for Western PA, baby.
He's fighting for hey, look at what I did at the end of the season when he's in job interviews. That's what Mike McCarthy
Yeah,
is.
he's fighting for the offensive coordinator position at Ohio State. That's what he's fighting for.
He's fighting for
Up
the
there.
playoffs, guys. He's fighting for the playoffs.
Up there in the booth, calling plays.
Offensive
at
analyst
South
for Alabama.
Carolina. Yeah, maybe he can join Bill Belichick at UNC. He can call the offense there.
Can't wait.
Maybe listen. Maybe look. I hope the
Nice.
Titans get. If Jerry. First of all, somebody told me the other day, and I was shocked. I think it was Sheriff Clark. Do you know that? What was his name? Garrett. Who's the former coach? Garrett, the guy with the red hair.
Jason Garrett?
Cowboys. Jason Garrett. I didn't realize this. Do you know he was the coach for 10 years in Dallas?
Yeah.
10 years. I didn't
10
realize that.
torturous
Sheriff Clark
years.
told me that. 10 years. Torturous years.
With North
10
Turner,
years.
North Turner there half the time. Yeah, was that?
I hope they fire McCarthy and the Titans hire him because I'd love to get him. He's like a real football coach. But look, they're fighting for pride here. They're at home, and the embarrassment of the line last week to make them a 3.5-point underdog in Carolina, and they went out and beat them by 30 points. I like Dallas at home. I think they're having fun. I think they're gonna win this game. They're out of it. The season's over. They're playing for pride, and that's real when you play for the Cowboys. It might not be real when you're playing for Jacksonville, but it's real when you're playing at home in Dallas. I think they win this game.
Nobody
would be
Yeah.
Carolina had been a favorite in 4 years before this game, and then they lose by 16. And the fun thought experiment is how long until Carolina is a favorite in any NFL game ever again.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years. Nobody is having less fun than the Dallas Cowboys. They're not having any fun. I don't know where you came up with that. There's no team having less fun than Dallas right now. They're going to lose this game. Tampa all the way.
A reporter told Micah Parsons that they were still eligible for the playoffs, and he just kind of went nuts on them. And they are, I guess.
Hey, I don't want to go.
Just like the Bengals, if they win out, Redskins lose all their games. A couple other things happen. Yeah, they could make it. No, I think Tampa takes this one. I'm going to go with Tampa here. And let's just finally get Dallas out of there completely. And I don't know if you want Mike McCarthy. I love Mike McCarthy. He's a Pittsburgh guy. He just seems to be getting a little stale around the league. And I don't know if that's the answer. This might be his last head coaching stomp.
I don't think so. I think he's got a great football mind. Players like him. He's a player's coach. I was a McCarthy fan when he was with the Pack. And I think he said, look, I mean, you lose your quarterback, bad things happen. You're working for Jerry Jones. I mean, that in of itself, you're going to go straight to heaven, right? You bypass purgatory, right? St. Peter's like, okay, Mike, you got all this stuff here, but you work for Jerry Jones how long? 5 years? That way, heaven. Forget it.
Straight to the
It's
Diddy party.
straight to
Oh,
the.
no,
Oh God!
no.
Come on.
What?
Okay.
That's
All right.
not nice.
Let's get one more game in. Monday Night Football. The Packers look to just beat the heck out of the New Orleans Saints, who are the New Orleans Saints are struggling at quarterback. Carr's been out for a while. They tried Jake Hayner. That didn't work. And then they put in Spencer Rattler, and he actually looked like pretty decent. I think some of that's just because Washington's defense sort of stinks. But he actually looked like okay. I mean, it's a 14-point spread. It's Monday night. What else are you going to do? I guess if you have to bet it. I mean, what are you guys thinking for the final game here?
I'm gonna watch the hockey game, but go
watch hockey.
ahead. Yeah, I watch hockey.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go to this like restaurant. It's a bar across the street, and I'm just gonna drink like 14 Coronas instead of watching this. I don't want to watch the Saints play football. I didn't even like watching the Saints play football when I lived in New Orleans, let alone Phoenix. So plus out here the Monday night game is on at like noon or whatever. So
it's like it's like one of those games where you go and you drink like 14 beers and the game is on and you're like, what? And then you wake up on Tuesday morning and you're like, I guess I watched the game, but like what happened?
you check your DraftKings account, see if you won.
you just like you just check the account and you're like, did they win?
Yeah, that's
okay.
that.
I just got to
check
interject
your
here.
account.
You guys are hilarious. Am I the only person that does that? Like, I'll get up, I'll go to bed, I'll bet a game.
No,
I don't watch the score. I just go to my DraftKings guy, log in, and see what my balance is, which tells me. And I thought I was the only person that did that. Do you guys also do that?
Yeah, but I don't want to tell my wife that because I always say it makes the game more interesting.
Late game, like because it's like I'm like kind of juiced for like the first like quarter, like second quarter, and then it's like there's like the 15-minute break during halftime, and I just can't stay awake.
I'm like Hawaii. I'm like Hawaii. Tommy Chang. Yes.
It gets way worse with college basketball because if you let yourself go nuts, all of a sudden the next day you're like scrolling through being like Valparaiso won, so
WVU's bowl game this week, that crazy Tuesday night crap fest, ended at 1:45. I watched it.
That was a game.
That was awful.
I can't be watching that. Yeah, I'm just doing the Saturday thing, and then like Jack said, just being like, oh, so Wisconsin Green Bay still sucks. All right, cool.
In general, the area or the
really worried about.
That college basketball is pretty rough.
Do we have any stations in Wisconsin? Hold on.
1-800 bets off, everybody.
Oh, they definitely have Getter.
Right,
They definitely have Getter in Wisconsin.
Is probably the state we're in. All right, so that was our show. If you like the vibes of this, you're gonna love the vibes of Jay Delsing. Often a guest here. He's coming up next. Golf with Jay.
Actually,
Delsing.
we got the 15-minute interview with Gentry Estes is gonna be up from the Tennessean, talking about the Volunteers and talking about other things and hockey. And anyway, we got that, and then Jay Delsing after that. I think that's what we're doing, Jack. I'm not sure.
And I don't like run. This, we're going to be recording our best bets over the weekend too. You can find that on all your socials: TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. We're going to be recording our best bets right after the show. So be sure and check us out. Give us a follow. Thank you. Merry Christmas.